a significant chunk also, maybe just below 50, is going into the streams.
We have a crisis, and the crisis can only be averted if the local authority begins to allocate resources properly.
We are a post-audit committee, and we are interrogating all the 92 local authorities.
Bathi amadlana aphuma kusuka laphana yiwo aphuma lesihlahla lezi esavala idam.
Guys, this is happening in Masvingo neZuro. Council yakadhamba untreated waste and yakonzera kufa kwefish dzakawanda zvisingaite muna Shagashi.
My name is Theophilus Chuma, an investigative journalist working in Zimbabwe. After receiving this damning evidence, I set out to investigate the damage on water bodies by raw sewage and industrial waste not only in Masvingo, but also in Kwekwe, Gweru and Bulawayo. We came face to face with a dark reality: suffocation of water bodies. The clock is ticking, and the next generation from now will only live to tell that there once was a lake called Chivero or a river called Shakashi.
The city is discharging raw, untreated sewage into our streams, and that is very dangerous.
In Zimbabwe, water pollution has hit alarming levels as raw sewage and industrial waste takes a huge knock on the country's aquatic life. These images, sent to us by a villager in Masvingo, is just but a tip of an iceberg to the environmental massacre perpetrated by urban local authorities on water bodies traditionally used for human consumption and agriculture. This news crew conducted an in-depth look into this environmental holocaust, where we came face to face with millions of raw sewage diverted into water streams and rivers. The damage is visible for everyone to see, except the authorities that are pumping this waste into the environments. We confronted some of the authorities behind this environmental degradation.
Most of the sewer now, some significant amount of sewage is flowing into the environment. We've got a BNR, biological nutrient removal plant, which is working, and we want to convey the sewer to this place so that we'll be able to treat it and discharge it as a standard effluent according to EMA standards. But because of the vandalism, we're not able to do that now sufficiently. So we wish to go back to the original setup where we have got our pump stations functioning and conveying all the sewage generated to this plant. We're always thinking outside the box and trying to look at our various options we can do to have sustainable sewage conveying and sewage treatment, and finally disposal in the proper way.
The country's water sources are under severe pressure from raw sewage pollution, with shocking revelations that urban local authorities are discharging an estimated 500 million liters of raw and partially treated effluent into rivers and dams daily.
This is a national security issue where the people's health is threatened. We expect that the local authority should inform the parent ministry without delay.
The committee is engaged in interrogating the Auditor General's report that was tabled in 2019 in order that the local authorities can both repair the disused, dilapidated, deplorable and old infrastructure.
Hour after hour, untreated sewage is making its way into rivers and streams across the country, eventually settling in major water bodies traditionally used as water for human consumption and agriculture. Behind this environmental siege are non-operational sewer treatment plants for most urban local authorities whose handling capacity can only take a quota of what is being generated across the country, leaving room to at least 500 million liters being discharged into the environment. A 2022 report by the Environmental Management Agency EMA on water and air pollution placed treatment plants in Harare, Chitungwiza, Gweru, Norton, Chinhoyi, and Bulawayo within the category of discharging most hazardous emissions. One of the towns cited in the report is Kwekwe, a town which has at least 4 pumping stations to handle waste from its estimated 120,000 residents. Yet out of the 4 stations, only one is working, meaning vast amounts of raw sewage is now being discharged into the environment. On their own accord, Kwekwe authorities admit they are discharging at least 20 million liters of raw effluent into rivers and streams that lead into Zimbabwe River daily.
The gravity of the problem is severe, and we need to intervene as much as we can to revive, so that we save the environment. We don't want to continue having sewer being discharged in the environment. Our plant here has got a capacity of 45 megaliters a day. It is able to manage that kind of flow into this plant. So I would say approximately 50% of the sewer which is supposed to come here is not reaching this destination here. But of course there are other lines also which are directly connecting here. They are just using gravity, and that flow is coming. As you saw, we are still treating, but a significant chunk also, maybe just below 50, is going into the streams.
If Kwekwe can generate this much pollution, the levels of toxic nutrients such as phosphates in Harare, Gweru, and Bulawayo being pumped into water sources is unnerving. Private entities are also fingered in this environmental massacre, as they are discharging potent waste into nearby streams. As we found out in Bulawayo, industrial waste with high levels of manganese is being discharged into streams that lead to Umguza Dam, one of the largest water bodies for the city.
Most of this waste is coming from the industries. It's actually being discharged into these canals through illegal sewer discharges. There are a lot of sewer beds which are occurring around the city, which are discharging waste into the canal, and eventually it finds itself into Umguza River. So the situation is quite serious. As you can see from this water that is here, you can actually pick up the smell that's coming out from there. It's all industrial effluent being discharged by the industries into the sewer system.
For their offense, some of these firms have been fined, yet their damage on the environment will remain permanently imprinted. The decimation caused by their actions will require millions to rectify. That is, if it can be rectified at all. Ambient water quality monitoring results for Umguza Dam are testimony to the environmental damage caused by the actions of urban local authorities and private companies.
All the effluent coming from the city is finding its way here into Umguza Dam. As you can see, there's a growth of water hyacinth which is becoming uncontrolled due to this effluent coming from the city. Mainly what has caused this excessive growth of this water hyacinth is the nutrient content of that effluent. This water hyacinth actually grows well in in that environment where there's a lot of nutrients. As you can see, it's covered the whole dam, and there's practically no space that you can see that is opened where this plant is not growing at all.
Water hyacinth, the evidence of massive nutrients now contained in Upper Umguza Dam. Now this is the concern that the local authorities are battling. Villagers in Umguza have seen the rapid decline of this water source. Once, this same water source used to be their fishing spot for bream. But this is a chapter brutally shut on their lives and hundreds of villagers who depended on Umguza Dam for fishing.
Situation okangalezi insuku hayi ingani nzima ngoba so wangena esinye isihlahla lapha savala idamu lonke inhlanzi zaphela so sele nje mbijani imlamba la isimlutshwana ayisekho mnengi so into yenzakala kathesi abantu inengi sengani ba survive ngenkuni. Yeah, i-problem le i-situation yedamu lathi sizwa abanye besithi iqalisele kuma-sewage bathi amadlana aphuma kusuka laphana yiwo aphuma lesihlahla lesi esavala idamu singazi ukuthi likuliqiniso linganani lelo ngoba labesithi council ngale bathi asho ukuthi into le yaphuma kuma-sewage kodwa nxa uqansa ngomguzu siya lephezulu ayikho iqalisela nje halfway ibiya ngaphi siya lephansi okutshengisela ukuthi vele yavelela eduzane khona
paiva nemabhotsi and nguva yacho paiwanikwa paine varungu nepachiitwa boat cruising paiwanikwa fish so zvinhu zvauraya business redu repanapa kuti hatichaoni vashanyi kubva kunzvimbo dziri kure nekuda kwekuti dhemu iri rakafa. Dhemu iri riri kunzi isuwa saka ndiona sekuti tsvina iya yesewage iya maybe city council yakundikana kuspray yawo.
Mguza used to be a hub for leisure and also for fishermen. You would find that people used to canoe in this dam. They used to do boating. Upstream on the other side of the dam as well, people used to fish there. The local communities from Blawa, there used to be a lot of bird life around here. People used to come and watch, do bird watching here. But due to this proliferation of this water hyacinth, that is something that's no more being done here. This water hyacinth has covered the whole dam. This has starved the aquatic life of oxygen and sunlight. Hence, all the fish are not able to survive in a situation like that because they feed off other plants which are growing in the water. Currently, there's no way that the sunlight can reach this underwater due to this coverage that is there, and hence all the fish have died out.
The situation for Lake Chivero is pathetic. Yet the local authority continues its actions seemingly unabated. Sources revealed that potent chemicals from a sulfuric and phosphoric manufacturing plant situated in Harare are being dumped into nearby streams. The impact on Lake Chivero is far from being imaginable, and the results are visible on the amount of chemicals now required to clean the water for consumption. The ordinary citizen is bearing the brunt not only on the resulting costs, but even the quality of water in Harare is now compromised.
What we require is both an enforcement plan. We also want a transformative intervention. What do we do to address this problem? Does the company lack capacity to treat its effluent before discharging it into the streams, or they are just doing it because there's no one holding them accountable? So we believe that the oversight role by the Environment Management Committee of the City of Harare should be evident. They must visit those companies. They must take tours of Mukuwisi River to see the magnitude of sewer that is being discharged there, to see the magnitude of effluent that is being discharged by industries upstream. We think that what has not happened is there is no commitment to allocate more resources towards maintaining a clean environment, towards upgrading our sewer system.
Some 600 kilometers from here, 53-year-old Danisa Ndlela is a resident of a community located along the shores of Lake Chivero. He has been here for the past 22 years, witnessing the death of this vibrant water source which has now been turned into a massive body of sewage.
Mvura yakuya yakasviba uyezve pamafungiro atinofunga tofunga kuti pamwe matengi avo ukoko anenge akaputika kurokesheni. Ndizvo zvimwe zvakukonzera kuti mvura iuye yakasviba. Pakubata hove izvezvi zvashanduka kudhara hove dzaitobatika panapa kusingapindi sewage yakawanda netumatemba tuya tudiki. Izvo tumatemba tudiki twakuwanikwa kumberi uko, nehove hombe dzakuwanikwa kumberi uko. Nekuda kwesewage dzinofa todzona dziri pamusoro pemvura, so hadzidliwe hove idzodzo. Saka mvura iyoyi hatisi kutoishandisa, tinowanzoishandisa pakurima muriwo. Izvezvo hatishandisi kana yakadai, so tinotombomira kusika sewage yapera.
Agriculture activities have been completely shuttered. Apart from the environmental pillage, what is happening across the country can only be comparable to huge spills of hunger.
Mvura iyo ino yakasviba zvokuti kana muriwo uchatotadza kudiridza, kuoma kwava kuita kudai, kuoma kwokuti tushaye chekudiridza muriwo. Inouya yosvibisa mashizha, dzimwe nguva mashizha anotsva. Kana kuti mvura iyo inouya yakasviba zvokutosvibisa muriwo zvokuti kana kutemhera munhu chakononetsa kutemhera munhu. Saka isusu takunetseka kuti todiridza muriwo udinei, izvo zvimwe zvakufa nekushaya muriwo mvura. Saka takuti isusu avo vesewage dai vakwanisa kuti regerewo pamvura, mvura yedu yakachena, takwanisa kuitawo zvinhu zvinoita kuti tiraramise mhuri nekurarama.
The situation is worse for Lake Chivero, with documents from the Ministry of Environment showing a buildup of pollution in the lower strata of the lake, with phosphate concentrations that have almost doubled the recommended limits. Each month, loads of dead fish suffocated to death are recorded. From a high of 22 species, Lake Chivero is now home to only 3 species.
Well, we've been here for over 30 years on Chivero, and we've seen with time the different forms of pollution like you're talking about. Yes, there's a lot of pollution coming from raw effluent and that sort of thing from Harare, Chitungwiza, and that area. Another big one for us is chemicals coming from agriculture being done within the wetlands around, river-based cultivation along the Manyami River. That's our main tributary coming in. The plastic bottles and stormwater runoff from Harare, the industry in Harare. A number of things, as well as the plastic net, fishing net that is being used by poaching and other forms of business doing commercial fishing. So there is a big impact. Different types of impacts that all contribute to a negative stigma of Lake Chivero, unfortunately.
Available evidence shows that the levels of dissolved oxygen in key rivers are very low and below the 60% saturation recommended limits. Authorities contend this is largely due to the high organic load and nutrients, that is nitrogen and phosphates, from human waste found in untreated sewage. This evidence is reflective of the situation in Mukuvisi, Marimba, Nyatsime, Pekiwe, Umguza, and Manyame rivers. Environmental watchers are worried.
They're supposed to pre-treat that effluent to acceptable levels so that the pollution load in that water has been reduced drastically and has got minimal damage to the environment. This also goes to say for all other industrial, even emissions that industries discharge from their boilers. We always say put in place pre-treatment facilities so that you reduce your pollution load on the environment. We actually encourage industry as well to continuously do sample their effluent, even their emissions, to ensure it meets the minimum requirements of the Environmental Management Act as read with SI 6 of 2007, that's for water and effluent, and SI 72 of 2009 for air quality.
The Harare City Council has a department and a committee that specifically look into pollution of the environment. Yet, these arms of enforcement within the local authority appear to be oblivious to the current situation.
We think we have a crisis, and the crisis can only be averted if the local authority begins to allocate resources properly. Their performance management must be enhanced so that errant workers are held accountable. Currently, people are left to do as they please without being held accountable. So essentially, when we go to these streams like the Kwazana case, it has been there. The district officer has been informed. Residents have reported this matter. If you go to communities like Budiriro, it was the hub of the cholera outbreak in 2008-2009. But then Glenview. But sewer bursts in that community, the sewer bursts that we witness are not being attended on time. It means that the residents, and particularly their children, are exposed to this. And underground water contaminates our bore water. And most people rely on bore water for their daily consumption. And if the city health department is not raising alarm, who then will raise this alarm? We think that there must be coordination between the citizens, the government, because the government needs to intervene where the subunit is failing to do its work. And where they intervene, they must be able to consult and engage with the different experts within our communities.
Legislators have raised the red flag over the environmental carnage caused by urban local authorities, but even after several probes, the city fathers remain defiant. Once again, issues raised through this investigation have brought to the fore the agency needed to address the current annihilation of water bodies.
We are a post-audit committee and we are interrogating all the 92 local authorities, but there are a few that are very critical and bringing out the issues of raw sewage contaminating the water bodies, because you'll find also that these water bodies, when they are contaminated, there is what is called decommissioning. These local authorities are not decommissioning these water bodies, much to the chagrin of the innocent, unsuspecting citizens of those local authorities.
How long before the country's fish are completely wiped out for the nation to realize the death of its water bodies?
You hear reports of fish dying because of the heavy contamination of the water. And there is so much lack of attention on issues that we now have our fish dying, yet we have people employed within the council who have the technical capacity, who have all the resources required, but they are just reluctant to be monitoring the effluent being discharged into our streams.
How much more sewage can the water bodies handle if at least 500 million raw sewage is being pumped daily? The time for action is now.